All right, everyone, welcome back to Beneath the Helmet. Another great episode on the air today. Today, I'm joined in a great conversation with a career captain over 20 years in the fire service, but he's also the publisher and editor in chief of a great magazine that really resonates with the meaning and the why of Beneath the Helmet, which is CRACKYL magazine. So today, I'm joined with the editor in chief publisher, Kory Pearn. We're going to share some insights on the birth of the magazine, the gap that it's filling in the fire service, the new app that's out for CRACKYL magazine, and lots of goodies. So if you haven't checked out the magazine, I highly recommend you checking it out. It's got lots of value in it. And like I said, it resonates with Beneath the Helmet quite deeply. So sit back, relax, enjoy this great conversation with Kory Pearn. Until next time, stay well.
It's time to ignite your soul and unlock your full potential. Join us on Beneath the Helmet, the podcast exploring firefighters' health and wellness. Hosted by retired fire chief Arjuna George, our podcast is the perfect place to start your journey towards becoming the best version of yourself. So come on, let's join the conversation and find out what sets your soul on fire.
All right, welcome back to the show, everyone. Beneath the Helmet, Season 2. I got a very special guest on the air today. I got Kory Pearn here, who's, as we all know, the editor-in-chief and publisher of CRACKYL magazine, and one of the best fire service magazines out there right now, for sure, 100%. Because it really resonates with this podcast as well, Beneath the Helmet. So welcome to the show.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Awesome. So Kory, tell us a little bit about who you are as a person and kind of your background and what led you to being a publisher in a
Sure.
magazine for the fire service.
Yeah, I think I took the long way around, to be honest, to get here. Yeah. Yeah, I've been in the fire service for 21 years, same department and just recently been promoted to the captain position. And, I've been in acting rank for a number of years. And now that you kind of get the red helmet, it kind of changes some of the things. It's like you've unlocked a different level. And, next one would be, platoon chief's position or something down the road if that happens. But yeah. And then I've had the opportunity to work in the publishing space, more in a sales, side of things, and just kind of fell in love with this rat race of publications and the smell of the paper and all the things. I think I just really, it was an expressive way to kind of, a new, something I guess I was missing. I think, just in the being creative and trying to keep, kind of unearthing where industries need to go. It doesn't matter what industry you're in. I think it's the same challenges. And then, having an opportunity to kind of get back in working with firefighters, which is kind of what I've done since I've been hired, and in this capacity, is something that's kind of, it's been, it's been a journey in itself, but definitely, something I've wanted to do. So
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's quite the journey going from, like you say, it's a bit of a pivot while you're still doing
Yeah.
the fire service, acting as a captain, to being an editor of a magazine. So that's quite the full plate you have, for sure.
Yeah. I knew it was going to be a lot of work, and
Yeah.
I completely underestimated like how much work it was going to be. I think it was, you thinking, I knew I could get a magazine off the ground. I figured, I could kind of visualize what it was going to look like. I could, kind of see the blueprint of articles and how that was going to kind of speak to us as firefighters. And then, but it's how it's growing, kind of get on that world stage. And just, the little things that kind of take your attention, which we were just kind of talking about. And so it's really just trying to navigate all that and making sure when I am in my office, I am effective. I'm not wasting my time and, and moving in the direction that I want to go. Yeah.
So as a new captain, what are some of the things you've learned that you weren't expecting when you jumped into this new role? Anything that kind of screams to you?
Immediately it was the fact I'm not driving anymore. I think that,
Yes.
I because as you're acting as an acting rank, you drive and, you're back on the floor. So that was kind of an immediate thing that was kind of like, kind of hit me, you know?
Mhm.
Um, yeah. And I think you just, yeah. And then we have a couple stations, and when you're the senior acting rank, you're always at I would say the busier hall for us. And now I'm kind of spaced, through the different stations. So which is nice. I didn't see that as a thing either, to be honest. So some things were, it's all good. It's
Nice.
it's the
Go.
it's
Yep,
logic.
for sure.
This is the next step. So
So what was the influence of starting this magazine? Was there a birth time that happens like, "Whoa, this gap needs to be filled
sure.
through this magazine crackle. How do I do it?" When was that birth time? Can you think of a specific time and place and event or whatever that looks like?
Sure. Yeah, it's kind of a long answer, to be honest. I think a lot of different things were affecting me and kind of building this without me knowing it in a
Mm.
lot of ways. So I had some health scares, almost lost my life to basically heart failure. And that had its own world of, slap in the face, get your shit together type thing and figure this out. Um, and kind of a second chance type feel. The other side was on a business practical side, or where my attention goes. I had pitched a lifestyle and health magazine years ago. Um, and it never went anywhere, and I sat on it. And so there was that. I had an inkling to do this. And then I needed the courage to do it. And so the timing had to be there. I think, so a lot of things had to happen on kind of a personal level, just in the, can I do this and should I do this? Like, whether you can it doesn't mean you should. And then so it was like kind of, and then it's like, who am I to start this, and why do I think I can get this off the ground on my own? Like, I didn't have savings for this. It's all off, building debt. Um, it's all been on my own financially.
Wow.
And I still lose money pretty much every time I publish an issue at this point. And
Wow.
it's so, but the greater good is that, um, this is something that I feel was festering. And then losing people at work. I had a close friend that committed suicide. He was actually one that I was kind of working with to build out what CRACKYL would be. I had, chiefs that retire and, financially secure, beautiful family, all the things that we think we're going to get when we retire, and then to be gone, and massive heart attack and gone. So it just seemed like everywhere I went, it was either, I wouldn't say dead ends, but they were kind of asking more questions than I had answers. And it was like, enough's enough. I can't, it doesn't make sense to keep having the same things happen. And everyone just kind of going like, well, that's, have no answers. And it's like, that's just not good enough. It's never going to be good enough. And I, as far as the background and things, I just have life experience. I just have, I'm not the one that's educated in these fields to give the answers. And, so I have to find them. And I think that's kind of what CRACKYL is. It's an exploratory, it's more of an idea, or a kind of a movement, than it is papers and graphics on a paper. It's something where it's just really, something has to change, because we can't carry this load that we're trying to carry. We can't. And the other side of it too is, it's fun being a firefighter and doing this publication, because, my moral compass is in line with my brothers and sisters, and just what is actually going to, affect us today. If you read an article, do you get it? Like, what's it going to change for you? And if it doesn't, then what's the point of doing it? Right. So I think that's been kind of the discovery of, trying to stay relevant and not get watered down, where you know, getting into the weeds of certain things politically and stuff. I'm really, I've made so many friends, and just, I think it's just timing was there for this too.
Love it.
And
Love
I didn't realize we were going into a pandemic when I started CRACKYL as well. And, um, and I was able to work underground for a year to build out what it would look like, what the magazine would be, build my team around me, my editors, my designers, and kind of build it out of thin air. And so no one was expecting me to be at trade shows. Nobody was expecting me to travel. So it was kind of I used the space that I was given to create it.
Love it. And you talked about creativity before, and I think that's such an important thing for firefighters, first responders to have some element of creativity in their life. Doesn't have to be painting or drawing or art, like that kind of concept. Writing, podcasting. There's lots of creative outlets here people can do that aren't that so-called, generic art that people kind of think of when they associate creativity with something, right? So it fills us up. We really need creativity in our life, right? So
And
beautiful.
I think what it does too is, when you start doing something that you enjoy doing, a lot of times we don't get to do the things we enjoy doing. Right? A lot of times we have to we do the things we have to do.
Totally.
And I think when you can kind of dive into something that is kind of, something you needed, I guess, whether it's that creativity outlet or it could be just expressing yourself in certain ways. And it really does kind of unlock, that part of you that we suppress, I think.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
And probably men and first responders more than anything, right? So
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I just love the magazine itself. Like it is probably one of the most graphic magazines. And when I say graphic, I mean visually appealing. It is beautiful to look through. Every little animation, every little diagram in there is spot on. So, and I just, like I said, the niche of the lifestyle, the wellness aspect of it just really resonates with me a lot. So it's nice that that niche is there versus talking about everything under the sun, the fire service, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So you talked about your heart and that very near miss. Was that fire service related or is that just part of life?
Well, it's funny you say that because I think I'm learning that it was probably had something to do with the fire service.
Mm.
We just did an 8-page article on a firefighter heart.
Yes.
It's based on research. It was also based on, people in another space, and then kind of an editorial flair to it from our team. And, you get looking at it and, it's like almost like we are, it's very common to, have heart flutters and fibrillations and things in the fire service because of the way that we're always in this state of, of get up and go, cortisol levels, things like that. But our lifestyle, it's the lack of sleep, excessive drinking or drinking just in general. I think it doesn't matter how much sometimes it's that you're doing it. Yeah, it's just that go hard, go heavy, binge drinking and things like that. We're very good at those things. We have a lot to kind of deal with. And then, yeah, just kind of, not eating on the run all the time, ordering a pizza at work and, like all those things that, on their own, you could get it by, but I think you put this combination together and it kind of, so I'm kind of learning now that, you know, it had probably had a big part to do with it, to be honest.
What are some of the key things you've changed in your life that, will protect you from any more heart issues? What have you changed in your life?
Well, so when I was not feeling well, my workouts were, you know, far few in between. Cause as soon as I would work out, the rest of my day I couldn't think. So when I was working in the sales position for magazines and things, like I had to work, and so I couldn't stop. And then if I worked out, the rest of the day was euchred. So that was one that started to, because of things, I couldn't do things. So I, try to be active. Sleep is something I'm still chasing, to be honest. I have a Whoop watch, and, I can't seem to satisfy that thing. Like I'm not even wearing it because it was, um, it's frustrating
Just
because
disappointing.
yeah, you get up and you're like, I think I had a good sleep. And then you find out that, you had a 50% recovery and it's like, so
Yeah.
I find it was very taxing to know how bad I'm still doing at those things. So,
Hmm.
anyway, so I guess you have to kind of look at that. But again, it is I don't think I'm ever going to figure this all out, but
For sure. Yeah.
definitely trying to, feel better and, um, yeah, and pay attention to, how many nights in a row you've been out or doing things and stuff like that, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So as being an active firefighter and then also involved in this magazine, anything new that you really didn't see in the fire service that you didn't expect to be reading about, even though you're in the fire service right now, but now you've been kind of introduced to all these people across the world in different aspects of their stories or their knowledge. Anything new that's you've learned over the last couple of years of being in the magazine and in the fire service at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, one thing that as you're asking, the first thing that comes to mind is that it doesn't matter how big the department is that you're coming from or where you work. It doesn't matter how many calls you do. I find that we still have the same problems. Like it seems so relevant to, and obvious that it's just the fire service is connected in so many ways. Whether it's personalities and things. I was suspicious of that, but definitely, as I've been meeting new people and going, it's like, and as people are talking more and sharing more, you're finding that yes, we have a lot in common. And it doesn't matter where you work, what side of the border you work, or in the world, really, in a lot of ways. So that was kind of interesting to kind of see that, and then just kind of exploring the whole side of vulnerability and kind of learning, that to just the um, being sensitive or not being okay. It's okay to not be okay, but again, it's like, what are you going to do about that? And then that becomes kind of a dive in itself to figure out what that means to you as we're all different. As much as we're all very similar, we're all very unique and we are different. Um, so I think that that's probably the biggest thing is that, and that's kind of given me confidence because when I ask somebody for something or I need something or an article, or I know that they're going to resonate with what I'm asking because, it doesn't matter what size department they're from and all those things. Like I said, like they're going to say, we have that problem or I've had that problem. So it gives me a lot of courage to kind of be able to ask for things that I feel that we need to be discussing. Yeah.
Well, saying that, you have such an inside knowledge of the fire service now with different perspectives. Where do you see the gaps in the fire service right now that we really need to start looking at and paying attention to?
Yeah, I think there's departments and cities that are doing a great job in whether it's even peer support programs, could be fitness programs, could be peer support programs, could be you know all kinds of different ways for community building and within the fire departments and things. And then so I think we need to there has to be more connectivity still between our departments and our leaders. I find that, people feel they have to start something from scratch and there's already somebody doing probably what you're doing in some ways. Um, and I think that's where we could do better. We need to stand on the shoulders of each other, I think, and um, not start over every time and I think we are still reactive to a lot. We need more money and mental health and support and benefits and things like that. That has to be, I don't know how we change that collectively. But firefighters need access to help. So, and I think we also need it has to be more of a maintenance program. I think, sooner we can get continuity with our new firefighters and get kind of where their headspace is when they start in the fire service and what they're doing, how are they managing themselves, what's their family like, how are they coping? And then, as they evolve, you know, you could have 10 years track record of how they've changed or, and seeing different patterns, right? So
Well,
I think that's where we need to go. And I think we do need to start seeing the patterns. I think right now we're throwing darts at what we think firefighters have and need. And I think that's a big part of what CRACKYL means to me now is really diving in to find out what is affecting us. And the only way to do that is to ask. I think it's to ask our firefighters what they want, what they need. I mean, when do we ever get asked what we want?
Yeah.
We're always told what we want. And I
and
think,
on the flip side, need, like you said, need, not just want, but
yeah,
need.
yeah,
Need to function, need to be a high performing public servant. We need this support, right? So,
yeah, yeah. And so I think that's where we could grow collectively as a fire service. And I mean, there's definitely moments happening, you know, and they're becoming more frequent in different trade shows and different conferences popping up, different organizations popping up, um, getting therapists and, psychologists into the fire departments and on a, on a, on a serious, not something that they did and everyone gets a pat in the back. I think it has to be a defined program, and something that's really sustainable, and makes sense. It can't be fluff. It has to actually do what it's supposed to do.
not collect dust on the counter.
Yeah. And we have to have psychologists that are trained to deal with first responders. And that's something that has to happen. They have to farm these people out that are interested in psychology, but then specifically in emergency services, right? Which is that seed's been planted, but when will that grow? Right.
Well, once again, I think your magazine is kind of leading the way in bringing this common language across North America to the fire service, right? I'd be interested, how many departments or how many subscribers do you have across North America, just as a kind of an FYI? Any ballpark there?
Yeah. So we're printing over 5,000 right now of the magazine.
Nice.
And then we're having departments, sign up. I mean, the biggest thing is having not just one magazine for a chief's desk.
Yeah.
Because they're buying and investing in subscriptions for each of their stations. And then we're finding that they didn't order enough. They want a couple more, one more for the chief's desk or one more for, fire prevention or so. And we try to keep it as, the cost down as much as we can. So it's basically just the cost of print and delivery. And then, yeah, that's how we're growing. And, it's been incredible to see these, for me being Canadian and having larger metropolitan departments sign up for 60 stations for CRACKYL. And like every station in New York, EMS and fire get CRACKYL magazine.
Wow. That's
And
awesome.
it goes through their internal mail. It's not mailed to them. It's through their own foundation,
Wow.
which is incredible, which is absolutely like that to me that was a moment, I'll say to my wife, I'm like, today there was a moment today. And, so I try to resonate and absorb those things. But yeah, but I want it to grow organically. I think, there's paid media and there's different things. I want this to be as pure as it can get, and I think the longer it takes to get there, the better I'm going to get it when everyone is on board, hopefully someday, that we're getting it right. I think it's growing at the rate that makes sense.
Yeah. That's sustainable, right? That's the key, right? I'd be curious, is there someone that you've interviewed over the time of CRACKYL that just stands out to be as like, wow, that changed my life, that interview? Anyone stick out for you?
I guess yes and no. I think there's nuggets of everybody. And some, like if it's a celebrity, I think in some ways it's not really what they're saying. It's just that they agreed to meet with us. And, I had Dennis Leary on our cover for 2 issues or 3 issues ago or 2 issues ago. And, it was, he's turned everything down, like as far as anything to do with this, just because he's busy and, stuff like that. And even his people were just, we don't know why he said yes to you,
Wow, let's go.
and it's like, so, and it was like, okay, well then now I can't screw this up. That's that was how I was kind of looking at that. But so that was a big moment, in that capacity. It was, again, it wasn't what he said. It was just that he was just willing to be part of what we're doing and, having those opportunities. And then there's, the different people, everybody that's been on our cover has meant something to me in some way, shape or form. Some more in the inspirational side, some more in the, um, you know, what do we think firefighters would want? Our last issue had our editors of our leading publications, and it was the first time that they've ever done anything like that. And
How did that happen? How did that, where was the birth of that? Was that your idea, or how did that come to fruition?
yeah, actually, it's something I've been sitting on for probably, I don't know, probably just over a year, and I just didn't know what they would say.
Yeah.
I didn't know if it was a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah. Very cool.
and then I wasn't sure, but then as time's gone on and the conversations that I've had, as I've met them all individually, I'm just like, these are amazing people, and just, wouldn't it be cool to kind of get, unite and take a stance together for firefighters, and, and it ended up being like just a really cool piece, I think. And I thought, Dennis Leary was cool for firefighters, you know, on kind of a ground level. And then having our editors, of our fire publications was more for the industry to me. It was more for all the business and, obviously they kind of drive the connectivity through our news and our training and all those things. And if they weren't there, we would be even more siloed than we are now. And, so it was just such a cool, tribute to them. And, they're kind of unsung heroes in the sense that, it's just a grind. The amount of stuff that comes in, the emails, the places they're traveling, their sacrifices family wise, trying to get, they have to get it right too. And they're tired, whether it's just an e-newsletter that's going out or whatever, and there's nothing glorious about any of that. And yet it's getting done. And so to me, to have them, could kind of, because I'm, again, being in the publication world, it was just such a tribute. And,
Well,
and they all said yes. I think they had fun. So,
yeah, well, like you say, it's a one of a kind of interview, I'm sure.
yeah.
And it's not an us against them kind of thing. We're all in the same boat, right? We're all here for the fire service. We're here for the firefighters. We're not here for individual kind of success, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's what really stood out for me, was how important that was, that, hey, we're all on the same team, right? We're working for the fire service.
Yeah. I've said this from the beginning, is we won't get where we need to be if we're doing it, on our own.
Yeah.
Like we have to, from top to bottom and, work together. I know it's cheesy, but it's so true. Like, I think having our publications unite in a certain way, there's always the business side, but there's that personal side. If we can connect on that personal side, it allows for better conversations and discovery. Same as, technology and bringing things in, and whether it's a fire truck manufacturer or maybe some robotic dog or whatever is happening, the more we talk, the better it's going to be, safer for firefighting tactics. And, it's what our conferences do. They, coming and having people speak, sharing their insight. Like, that's how we're going to get what we need to be. And then finance side is a completely different monster, and having our cities and, devote money and, resources to fire departments to get the help they need. And, you got to keep pounding on these doors and through our unions, it's just like, we have to work together,
I agree. Yeah, one of my biggest perks is when we're divisive within the fire service. Like, we got to work together. We got to be on the same page, same team, management, union, management, volunteers, union. Just
Yeah. Yeah.
we're going to we're going to make progress.
You have to, and you have to get the right people in the room. You have to be in the right room. It's very easy to kind of get your head in the sand as we go through our careers, and especially as, our lives get busy, whether it's just personal lives with kids or maybe going through divorce or, like, it's very easy to kind of get our head in the sand and kind of miss when we could be very influential in the change that could come. And, so it's there, we're, I mean, nothing ever, amazes me how many great people we have in the fire service. Like, they're usually, people in the top of their game and within their, and, social circles and education wise, just very special and very unique industry. So if anybody can figure it out, it's us. Yeah.
What would you say is the top 3 kind of concerns for the fire service in their wellness aspect of things? Like, where do you see the trend that everyone's kind of suffering right now with?
Well, I think definitely we don't have a handle on suicide. We don't. I don't know why. I don't know. It seems like we're chasing a ghost in a lot of ways. And I think that's an area. I think in some ways too, I think we think we're doing good, but I don't know how effective we're being, organization wise. And I think, and then, there's differences between Canada and the US as well with funding and different things and grants and different, access to resources. And I think we're doing a good job with what we have, but I think there has to be, how long is it going to take if we just kept going at the rate we're going to get what we need? Like, how many years will that be? So how do we shorten that gap? Right. And I don't know the answer, but, so that's kind of where I think we're coming up short a little bit. We have a lot of volunteer, organizations that are ran by volunteer type thing, and they're not given the time to do what they need to do within that organization. I think, because we're trying to do too many things. And I think we need more dedicated, positions and things that we can, allow people time in that chair to do what they need to do, because they're just inundated.
For sure.
So I think that would shorten the gap of where we are and where we need to be, I think.
Yeah, kudos to all the volunteer fire chiefs out there that kind of do this on the side of their desk on top of everything else they got to do. It's not dedicating the time to what really has to happen. But unfortunately, it's just not enough hours in the day for them, right? So yeah, I totally agree that support, resources, staffing, yeah, it's all, but financials is probably number 1 for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, things are getting done, but, I think it's their personal lives that will be taking the hit, especially. So, who's looking out for them? Right.
And back to your a couple of questions ago, you talked about, keeping stats, keeping records of how we're doing in progress. And right now, Canada especially, our stats are not great for suicide, for mental health claims, all that. It's very hard to find that kind of information, right? So, yeah, I think that's definitely an area we could. I know there's lots of people working on it, but still more.
Yeah, a lot of work.
What was the biggest hurdle for you for getting into this niche and breaking this? Because a lot of the magazines are talking about tactics and strategies, and any big hurdles that you had to get across that this is not a strategy and tactics magazine. This is not talking about AutoX. Very different.
Yeah.
Any kind of hurdles you had to climb?
Yeah, I think, well, the hurdles I had were before we built it, I think. to make sure. I mean, I've said it from the beginning. There's no point in creating a magazine that is similar to what we already have. There's no point in doing that. So I needed to answer all those questions in the development side of it. So I have 7 pillars that I basically, the magazine falls within. So it's health, lifestyle, fitness, finance, relationships, and stress and nutrition. And so that was kind of something I created in its infancy. And I haven't wavered from that in the magazine. And then, from there was, I don't want people to flip through and see a lot of the same ads and things that we're accustomed to in our trade publications. Because I think a firefighter's eyes will just glaze over and it would be like, it doesn't matter what the pages are in between. They're not paying attention now. So I wanted it to be different. I wanted to be as different as I could make it. And like I call it a chew toy for firefighters. So it's, in order to do that, we have to resonate with the firefighter, right? So, and then, even the name, having it sit on your coffee table, I wanted it to be a conversation piece. And not scream, I'm a firefighter, and things like that. Cause you're probably going to tuck those things away when company comes over. So I wanted it to be able to be left out. So there was a lot into it, and it's a little bit bigger than your traditional magazines as well. It's, as far as the physical size of the magazine, that was by design. It's more costly to print, but it was something that I wanted it to be different. I wanted it to feel different. Kind of have that high gloss coffee table showpiece magazine with, beautiful interior pages and I wanted firefighters to know that we're taking this seriously. Right. And I didn't want it to be, it's a perfect bound book. And, we don't follow current events. So the beauty of these magazines is that they're kind of like a breadcrumb trail to a better way, because they're always current. I can grab my first issue and you could read it and be just as relevant today. And that was by design, because again, so much money and so much time and energy to get this content out. I didn't want it to be in a time have to fit a space and time and then it's irrelevant. So it's really just it's volumes. They're really just an index of, categorizing content in these spaces. And so a fire department can invest in that and leave it and then let it bounce around within the halls of the fire hall, and be picked up, and and it's firefighters are reading it, which is incredible.
I love it. Yeah, I never thought about the news part of it, but yeah, there's no news in the magazine, and it's like a handbook, really. That's just keep every 4 times a year you get a new handbook, right? That just adds to your collection.
Yeah.
I'm curious, where did the name come from? Is there a meaning behind it, or is it just something that popped in your mind?
Yeah. Well, it was something that I just kind of pictured, what would resonate with firefighters, and when you're kind of in a house fire and you can hear the crackling from a fire, you can feel the heat, but you can't see it. And I think that's just kind of a moment, because you're listening for where you're going to, which way you're going to go type thing. And so I just think firefighters can resonate with that quiet kind of crackling fire and knowing that you got work to do.
It's cool.
So that was the name. And then the why. I kept saying, when I was explaining CRACKYL, is like, we're trying to build an immune system for firefighters is what's kind of the essence of this publication, or what CRACKYL is. And so then I, kind of looked up immunity, and I was looking at, different ways. Anyways, it's kind of in the shape of a Y. So I end up bringing the Y into the name, and then the underscore being kind of an amber color. It's like a traffic light. We're trying to keep firefighters in the green, or the caution, and not the red. So yeah,
that's very cool.
And we know we're not going to keep everybody in the green, and life is, a moving target. Things happen, but it's really, just kind of learning how to bend and not break, things like that. So it's just, that's what the masthead, and that's what
that's cool.
Yeah.
So the magazine is amazing, but there's also something that's just equally as amazing, if not more accessible to a lot of people, and that's the app.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the birth of the app and what different features are in that versus the magazine, or
Sure. Yeah. So we, we wanted to create an app. I thought it was a couple years away from actually being able to do this. And um, anyways, but we have been able to kind of get our first version of our app, and kind of have it surface and it's available. And it's right now it's really just kind of getting our content into, we say put your health on your home screen type thing, and that's what we're doing at this point. I wanted to meet firefighters where they are, so opposed to kind of logging in here and there. I wanted it to be with them, and then have access to it. So when you had 10 minutes or 5 minutes, maybe instead of doing TikTok or scrolling through mindless things, which is great. I do it all the time. But maybe you would check out something and that type of thing. So,
Yeah.
and then we're launching our second version, very soon. So it's going to kind of unlock a different feel to it. So it's definitely a work in progress. I'm extremely proud of it. And kind of out of the gate to build these things is a lot of time and energy, and kind of rallying people that kind of see your vision, I think is part of it as well. So it's free. We just want to encourage people to download it and just wait and have us kind of unlock different things as we get going. And there's a lot of things coming. And even by the end of this year, it's not like there's a year in between each of our versions. Like we're talking months in between, whereas it's going to change and evolve. So
what's different in the app than the actual paper magazine? Is there different content or just the same content, just maybe not as much?
yeah, so the content will be changing as we go. Right now, it's the first version is really just kind of an easier read or easier way to read and consume our articles. And then we'll be adding kind of a gamification side to it, where it's getting points and things as you're reading and consuming and following you along with, is kind of what your journey is. And that was really kind of important to me, so you can kind of see at a glance what your interests are and things, more of a dashboard type. So it could be like, you could be more interested in relationship articles. It could be parenting, could be generational trauma, could be different things. But then, like, I find, being 21 years in right now, I think I'm more interested in the financial side of things right now. Like I was trying to, as I'm, kind of projecting coming out of the, my years and figuring out that exit strategy. And so I find that my interests are kind of leaning that way, and we would see that. So, and then as we see those trends, we'll know basically, 20, 22 or 21 year firefighters typically, if the trends say it's financial, then we can go and get more financial support.
Well,
Right? Like that's kind of the idea. We can have something we've never had, I think is what's exciting to me. And that carrot that is dangling in front of my face is like, how can we, I think in order to have, or to do better than we've ever done, we have to have things and tools that we've never had in order to unlock those things. And I think that's kind of where my head is at.
like
Yeah.
So what's next for CRACKYL? You talked about the app, had some improvements there and some changes there. Anything else happening with CRACKYL that's you want to share with the world?
Well, it's just, everything's just it's just more and more and more of all things. So, we just help, the Fire Cancer Support Network with their cancer 10-year, white paper, on cancer best practices. So as a firefighter, what can you do? And then as a fire department, what can you do for your firefighters? And extremely proud of that, collaboration. I can see definitely more of these opportunities coming. So, to have a look out for those moments and those things. Yeah, and just really trying to, stay true to what I've been saying is working with people, working with organizations. And I don't have to do this on my own.
Right.
I just have to be in the right room. And I think that's kind of how I look at all of this. and it's just really I'm just going to keep showing up and see what comes down the pipe. So, but I think, as far as CRACKYL too, we're working on new website and stuff right now. And again, to try to have a better experience. So I think in order for us to consume this content, we need to do it in a way that's not offensive or abrasive. It has to be easy. Asking firefighters to put an app on their phone, that's a big lift, like that's a lot. And, again, I keep saying, I'd rather you have it and not like it or never need it than to just, not just try it, like that's kind of where I'm at. And same with the magazine. I'd rather you read it and say, I don't like it than to not read it or just think it's another firefighter cookbook. It's something that you will learn and you will share. And maybe it's not for you. That's the other thing is we're having people, that kitchen talk and say, I just read an article on that, and literally grabbing the magazine and handing the magazine to somebody. Like, to me, that was the vision of, it was always, can you imagine if, or you walk into a firehouse and you see, go to the bathroom and then like, there's a magazine on the toilet. That's when you made it,
Yep, exactly. When you made it to the bathroom, you made it success.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And it's, I see it moves around, and I know it's being, consumed. So yeah, just really trying to stay relevant. I think, and stay to the formula that we've created. I want it to be a nice experience for our firefighters. I don't want them to feel inundated. I don't want them to feel exposed. I want to be very considerate and thoughtful to the people that we're trying to help here, and not frustrate them. That's all. Yeah.
What does Kory need more in his life? What additional support do you need personally in your own life that you're seeking? You need some further support in?
Good question. I think, trying to really, I think less is more, as I think I'm starting to learn that. What I need, I don't know. I think more sleep, mentioned that one. But I think definitely listen to my body more, and not be pulled in so many different directions all the time. But I mean, as far as that work-life balance and starting CRACKYL was, they can throw that out the window, because
No such thing.
Yeah. And just try to be present when I with my family and things like that. And, as much as people have access to us all the time, and, so, but publishing gets, tricky sometimes. So when you're trying to meet that print deadline and you're in the 11th hour of certain things and things need to materialize, like it's kind of, so we're recognizing when, trying to balance that, or maybe do more that I don't get into that position as much, but yeah.
So curious, what are you doing for your sleep that seems to be working? Like where is the issues? Is it falling asleep? Is it staying asleep? Is it the shift work? Like what's the sleep aspect?
I think it's staying asleep for sure. I don't sleep after, I think in 20 years, I probably come home and had a nap like maybe 5 times in my career.
Wow.
Yeah. Like, I mean, a nap, like an actual, like I need to sleep. Like have I had a 20-minute nap and sat on the couch? Yeah, of course I have. But I mean, actually, like I take the kids or someone, I've never done that. And usually when I come home, I'm just glad to be home. Like I feel like when I go to work, I try to mentally be there. And then when I get home, it's like this time warp has happened. And then I have this agenda that I've got to, get done. Right. So I fall asleep very easily. I try to, but, I'm also very active, and I'm in a couple bands, and, so it's your weekend, Friday or Saturday night, out late and then lugging equipment around. And then I was up for, like, even this weekend, I had a gig on Saturday night, and I had my daughter in a baseball tournament. So I was up early Saturday, left the baseball to go load up for the gig and then play the gig, come home. And then I was at the Ball Diamond at 7:30 in the morning on Sunday, and came home to unload my truck. Like, it's just, and they won the whole thing. It was great. you know, it's just one of those things, but yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
But what is the secret to doing it all and still smiling today?
I think, I guess you mentioned it, like distractions are good. And I feel like I'm doing all kinds of things, but I feel like I'm doing nothing. Right.
Uh-huh.
Okay. You know, kind of here and there. And I think
You're rocking it, man. You're rocking it. You're rocking it.
yeah, I think it works. You know, I like being busy. I always have. So
You talked about you're kind of coming home, you're mindful at work and then you come home. Do you have a tradition and a ritual of like a house transition when you come home? Do you have a transition you can share? Or?
um, well, I think I do it on the way home, to be honest. I think I have a 25-minute drive home.
Nice. Yeah.
I always stop and get a coffee on the way home. I know I can have one at work. But I choose to kind of get back into that wait in line,
Yeah.
get your coffee, you know, start working the way home. So then when I get home, I think, yeah, I've already started that decompress, I think.
Yeah. I like that.
You know, and I do, I can't go to sleep without knowing what I'm going to do the next day. So when I'm coming home, I already know I have a meeting at 10 o'clock and one at 11 and one at 12. Like I already know that this is happening. So that kind of helps me. I know I need to get back into the groove very quickly. Um, and I'm always glad to get back home. And, you know, like I said before, like that could change. Like right now, you know, my relationship's great with my wife and my kids. But if I was, you know, fighting with my wife, maybe I don't want to just come home, like rush home. Like, I mean, I don't know. Right. So, um, but yeah, I typically just try to get back into what the hell I left before I went to work.
Yeah. Oh, that trip home, grabbing that coffee, that trip home is the decompression. That is your transition, right? That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes I don't listen to any music or podcasts or anything. Sometimes I just come home. Sometimes I just think. I
Yep.
turn the radio off.
I say it often. We don't do it enough.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't like when other people's thoughts are louder than my own. And
Nice.
I need that space to
Yeah.
hear what I'm saying to myself. And, you know, and you know, it's not for everybody. I mean, some people, you know, their voice in their head is against them, right? Manifest things. And so yeah. So I think you have to, you know, kind of pay attention to that. But for me, it works.
Nice.
You know?
Are you doing 24s or?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a nice balance of being able to give you some time to do everything else you're doing in life as well, right? So
Yeah.
you think that a 24 is beneficial for your wellness? I think that's a good schedule to be on.
Yeah, I think so far. Yeah, I think so far. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you had to
Yeah.
kind of pick a poison, I think that would be,
How long you be in 24s?
we're in our second year.
Second year. So
Yeah. So it's still fairly new. But yeah, it is nice to be at home in your own bed.
Mhm.
If you take on the world the next day, you
Nice.
need to have that touchdown for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's come to a close here. What is one message you want to make sure you get through to the listener today that's you would feel really bad if you didn't share it today? Anything that you can think of it's like this is a must share today.
Well, I think one is just knowing that, you know, you're enough, I think is a big one. You know, and life does have hills and valleys and things like that. And I think you have to kind of look at your career as, you know, and see how you're doing and measure that somehow, you know, and kind of cut yourself some slack a little bit in the sense of, you know, like sometimes a lot of things are happening and sometimes, you know, you have some bandwidth. And when you have the bandwidth, you know, reach out to other people. And, you know, we just had someone who's been off work and then kind of he's come back and, you know, was kind of mentioning how certain people didn't call him or people didn't even know that he was off. And it's like, I think that's a real thing that we all kind of struggle with that, you know, at work and we don't want to pry. So no one wants to ask why, or where's this guy? Where's that girl? And it's like, I think we do need to ask. Like, I think we do need to, you know, pry a little bit. So, but he was kind of mentioning this, and he did it, in a good way. And basically, where's your phone call? Where is this? And he's better at that. And when, but then we have another guy that's off, and I'm like, well, have you called so-and-so? And he's like, no. And I'm like, well, you're saying one thing on one side, but you didn't do it on the other. And my point is, we're all guilty of it. And, there's no formula or rule book for this. And I think so he ended up calling the other person, and I'm like, that's what needs to happen, and, and then if you're off, and if you're injured and you're not at work, I think, and you want to get together, or you want to see the, people at work, just reach out to them. Don't wait for them to reach out to you. I think we kind of put ourselves in a corner where we're waiting for everybody to come and make our day. And I think if you want something, go and ask for it, because everyone is busy. Everyone's busy. Everyone's working. Everyone's tired. But no one does it intentionally. And I think that's it. If I can, kind of leave one would be, if you're thinking to do something or to reach out to somebody, or you want somebody to reach out, is to maybe initiate that.
Yeah, because on the flip side, I'm sure every firefighter listening right now is like, hey, if somebody calls me, I'm going to answer. I'm going to be there for them, right? So I might not think about it in the day to reach out to them, but if they reach out to me, I'm putting down everything to connect.
Yeah, we always look at just from one lens, and I think we'll fail if we do that. We continue to.
Yeah, nice. I think full circle to the beginning of the podcast is talking about being connected, right? And learning from each other, right? So being connected is probably the ultimate key to our wellness, right? We all need human connection. So,
yeah.
Beautiful. So how can people learn more about CRACKYL Magazine? How can they learn more about Kory? Any links or resources you want to share with the audience?
Yeah. Our website would be the easiest way to kind of get, access to all our articles and past issues. And people want to check that out. It's just an email address. I think that kind of unlocks the whole, library and stuff that we have. I encourage people to check it out. As far as the app, that's on Apple and Android, Google Play. It's available there. It's free. And then, as far as reaching out, LinkedIn, you can find me on LinkedIn, that type of thing. So I try to be very active, looking for people to write articles. We have a big content program going on right now. So we're looking for, everyone, whether it's a firefighter, one is telling a story, to someone in the space of helping firefighters, whatever. So yeah, we definitely encourage to reach out, and we want as many voices as we can in our publication.
Is there a theme or a topic that you're searching for, but you haven't found the person to share it with yet, or is there anything that pops up for you?
Nothing off the top of my head, but it's definitely, we don't know what we don't know. So I think that's kind of
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, Kory, it's been a pleasure. Great magazine once again. Great work your team does. Kudos to you for doing all this, kind of along the side of your desk of being a firefighter, right? So kudos to you, and everyone listening, be sure to check it out. It's a great publication. So
awesome.
Thanks again. All right, everyone. Until next time, stay well.
Thank you for tuning in to Beneath the Helmet. We hope that this podcast has provided you with valuable insights into the world of firefighters' health and wellness. Remember, caring for your physical, mental, and spiritual well-being is crucial to achieving optimal performance. Join us next time on Beneath the Helmet for more inspiring conversations. Until then, stay well.